How's it going, guys? Julian Bradley here, and welcome back to part 2 of this How to Write Sweet Chord Progressions series. In this video we're going to go into tritone substitution, and I'm going to show you some really sophisticated chord voicings which you need to use when you're composing to bring these chord progressions to life and to sound sophisticated. So we're going to head over to the piano. Enjoy part 2. So the next technique we're going to look at is tritone substitution, and again this is going to be a sophisticated technique which is going to take us out of key, because all of these techniques are now breaking out of key. We've looked at the fundamentals, but to create sophisticated chord progressions we have to break out of key and then we come back into key. So here's how tritone substitution works. We can take any chord, let's take C minor 7, and we can precede this by a chord that's going to be up a half step. So you work backwards from your target chord, C minor 7, we'll go up a half step to D flat, and we'll make this a dominant 7 chord. So D flat, dominant 7 looks like this, and this is going to resolve nicely down a half step to C minor 7. So that's the short explanation of tritone substitution. All you really need to know though is that we're going to be preceding some of these chords within the key using this half step up approach, tritone substitution. So say we have C minor 7, we can precede this with a D flat dominant 7. And later we'll apply nice chord voicings, so it sounds really sophisticated. So the 1 chord is one of my favourite chords to precede with tritone substitution. So D flat dominant 7, resolving down a half step to C minor 7. And the other chord that I tend to use this on would be the 4 chord, so F minor 7. How would we precede F minor 7 if we want to use tritone substitution? Well, we'll go up a half step to G flat, and we'll build a G flat dominant 7 chord. What are the notes? I'm going to build a major triad first, and then add a minor 7th, just up an octave, down a whole step, and this is our dominant 7 chord, which will resolve down a half step to F minor 7. And really those are the 2 locations that I like to use tritone substitution. Of course you could use it for any of the 7 chords within our key of C minor, but for me I've explored this key a lot, and my 2 favourite locations for tritone sub to be D flat 7 to C minor 7, so preceding the 1 chord, and then preceding the 4 chord with a G flat dominant 7. The other place you could use tritone sub would be to precede the 5 chord. You'd do an A flat dominant 7 down a half step, So next let's take a look at chord voicings. So chord voicings are going to be an essential part to dressing up these chord progressions so that they sound sophisticated. If you don't use sophisticated chord voicings, there's only so much you can do with the chords themselves. Now, of course, there's endless chord voicings that we could talk about, but there really are just a handful of chord voicings that I use most of the time. And to start with, let's take a look at rootless chord voicings. So for our C minor 7 chord, let me show you a rootless voicing for C minor 7. You're going to play the root in your left hand in the bass. You're going to find the chord's 3rd. So what's the 3rd of C minor? It's going to be E flat. And then we're going to play a major 7 chord built from E flat. So E flat major 7, it's going to look like this. This is a really nice chord voicing. It's called a rootless chord voicing, position A. It's going to give us the minor 3rd, the 5th, the minor 7th, and the 9th. Very nice. So C minor 7 would look like this. We could build it for the 4 chord, F minor 7. Which notes will we play? Find the chords minor 3rd, A flat, and then build a major 7 chord from A flat. It's going to look like this. Now we can also invert this chord voicing, and it's common to take the top 2 notes and to bring them down an octave. So B flat and D can come down here, B flat and D, then E flat and G. And this is also a very common chord voicing. This is a rootless chord voicing, position B, which I also use a lot with my chord progressions. So for a minor 7 chord, we can either play a rootless voicing, position A, 3rd, 5th, 7th, 9th, or a rootless voicing, position B, which is going to be 7th, 9th, 3rd, and 5th. Now how about a major 7 chord? Let me just demonstrate from C. If we had a C major 7 chord, again we could use a rootless chord voicing, and for a major 7 chord we're going to find the chord's 3rd, so a major 3rd this time. It's going to be E, and this time we're going to build a minor 7 chord from E. So E minor 7, it's going to look like this. So that is our rootless chord voicing, position A, for a C major 7 chord. And then how about position B? Can you tell me which notes we're going to play? Just take the top 2 notes, drop them down an octave, and it will look like this. So it's the same numbers, 3, 5, 7, 9, or 7, 9, 3, 5. And you can just apply that to a major 7 chord or a minor 7 chord. So how would we voice E flat major 7 if we wanted to do a rootless chord voicing in position A? We'd find the chord's 3rd, it's going to be a major 3rd. Then which type of 7th chord are we going to build? Well, it's always going to be the opposite of the chord type. So if this is an E flat major 7, we find the major 3rd and then we build a minor 7 chord. So that's how I remember it. If it's a major 7 chord, you find the 3rd and then build a minor 7 chord, so it's like the opposite, major, minor. Whereas if it's a minor 7 chord, you find the minor 3rd and then you build a major 7 chord. So it's kind of like the opposite, whichever chord type it is, you find the 3rd and then you switch the chord type. Now even these new chord voicings can be a way for us to get out of key. For example, if we take these rootless chord voicings, there's certain chords that we've looked at where if you apply these rootless chord voicings, it will actually add a note that's out of key. And I like to do this on the 5 chord, the G minor 7 chord. If you add this rootless chord voicing, you end up with an A natural up here. And really that's taking you out of key. That would be maybe the Dorian scale, which has a major 6th. So just by playing this chord voicing on the 5 chord, it actually very subtly breaks you out of the key. So sometimes just adding these rootless chord voicings will actually just tweak you out of key just a tiny bit. So next, let me show you how I like to voice dominant 7 chords. Let's take a C dominant 7 chord to demonstrate. Again, I like to use rootless chord voicings, and for a dominant 7 chord, we're going to find the chord's 3rd, which is going to be a major 3rd. So 2 whole steps, brings you to E. Then we're basically going to build a stack of 4ths up from E, so E, A, and D. And last of all, we're going to add a half step above the middle note, which is going to give us a B flat. So this is actually the voicing that I like to use for dominant 7 chords. It's slightly different to the minor 7 and the major 7 because we just tweak this 5th and move it up. And again, we can play position A, which looks like this, or we can invert it, take the top 2 notes, bring them down an octave, and play it in position B, which looks like this. Now I know this is getting a bit heavy, but this is how you create these sophisticated chord progressions. The chord voicings are an essential part to these chord progressions. So I like to use these rootless chord voicings. Now, if you'd like to learn more jazz piano chord voicings, I've put together a free download, which is my jazz piano chord voicing guide. You can download that for free at the link below. And that's going to show you all these different types of chord voicing, including shell voicings, rootless chord voicings, 4th voicings, the Kenny Barron voicing, and more. So to download that for free, just click on the link below. Another thing I sometimes like to do is play a stack of 5ths in my left hand. Just sort of beefs up the sound of the chord, especially if I'm rippling it. So C minor 7. Sometimes beef up certain chords with a stack of fifths in the left hand if you can stretch it, or just play a root and fifth if you can't. So now we can take these rootless chord voicings and start applying them to the chords that we've looked at. So we can play an F minor 7, rootless voicing, G flat dominant 7, I'm doing this tritone substitution here. Find my voicing, resolves nicely down a half step to F minor 7, rootless voicing. Do it again, tritone substitution to C minor 7. So well done for making it to the end of part 2. Again, we looked at tritone substitution and we looked at rootless chord voicings. Now in part 3, which is coming up, we're going to look at a technique called side slipping, which we're going to add into the mix. And then finally, we're going to use all of these techniques in combination and we're going to compose our own chord progressions together. So part 3 is going to be the payoff. I can't wait to see you there. But before you go, make sure you download my free sheet music bundle for composers. You'll get my 23 sweet chord progressions sheet music, which annotates all of these chord progressions. You can see the techniques in action. And I'm also going to include my chord voicing guide, which gives you 24 sweet jazz piano chord voicings, including these rootless chord voicings, and you can use all of these in your compositions. So with that said, well done for making it through part 2, and I will see you in part 3 in just a moment.